On this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast, we finally get the big revelation.
What do Magic Cheese, Keith Richards, and Dancing Monkeys have in common? Let's do this. Pleasant.
Oh, well, on that note, welcome to Devil's Trap Podcast. I'm Diana.
I'm Liz.
And we're going to talk about season 11, episode 20, Don't Call Me Shurley.
Don't call me Shurley. Don't call me late for dinner. How are you doing? This lovely fall day.
I'm good. Yeah, I got cold, surprisingly, suddenly.
We have a cold front moving in, but fall will finally come to Texas, and I'm going to leave it.
Yeah, right? That is what's happening. How does that work?
That's how it plans. So, what have you been up to? How was your weekend?
I put on a car show. It was good. It was a good day in Deep Ellum. We were very concerned about weather, but it ended up being a lovely day with a pop-up rainstorm towards the end of it, and that was okay. The day was a success, and then I was tired. That's my story. So we will do it again next year.
Huzzah! Nobody.
How about you?
No cops, no robbers. Everything good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Over here, so like I said, getting ready to flee Texas to go to the Twin Temple Halloween show, and then maybe to the Boulet's Dracula Ball. But the first entry for the Boulet Ball does start at 9:30, but that's 9:30 Pacific time. So my body, it will still be. We'll see if I make it to the. Every year I go to LA for Halloween. I try to make it to this ball, and I even started watching the new season of Dragula, which is Dragula Icons, I think. So it's people from past seasons. So I'm preparing for the ball. I got my fake hair. My fake hair is in. Right. I'm getting ready. I've got hair pieces. So just getting ready for Halloween. Did you decide on your costume?
I have not. I will do some combination of fun things that I have in my home, I'm sure.
Does that equal a turkey baster and...
No, it's more like vampire teeth and fake blood, probably. But I also have some other stuff stashed around in my array of costume pieces that I may dig out. But when in doubt, vampire teeth and fake blood. Let's go. I'm good at that.
I was very upset that I could not find the place that I practically stored my costume makeup in the new house. And so I had to buy new costume makeup because I don't know where it is.
That's always frustrating, especially when you know what you have and you like what you have and you got to start over. It's the worst. The worst. Yep. But no. Well, let's talk about this episode.
All right. So this is Don't Call Me Shurley, is season 11, episode 20, and it first aired May 4th, 2016. And because, as I think you know, this was such a heavy hitter of an episode, they brought in Robert Singer to direct, and it was written by Robbie Thompson. So this episode obviously was a long time, I think, in the making. So let's just jump into it. And we're going to start off with a pupper, a cute little pupper.
Yeah, cute little pupper watching a Harry and Anna's dumpster in an alley a rockin'. The dumpster is a rockin'. So you're not supposed to go a knockin'. or something like that. I don't know. Either way, Metatron is eating out of the trash. We have Metatron, who is now human, right? We remember he's not an angel anymore, and he is dumpster diving for food. But he actually like feels bad for the doggo, and he gives the doggo the meat out of a sandwich and then dives back in.
And that makes me conflicted.
And then I know. I'm like, oh, have you had a change of heart, sir? And then he finally like gets frustrated because there's not any more food in there, I guess, and is like, I give up. And like a snap of a finger, he is in a very clean bar in clean clothes with the dog laying on the bar and Good Vibrations by Brian Wilson playing.
And somebody else is there.
We notice someone sitting in the booth. Who could it be? Carver Edlund? Chuck? What? And he's got a world's greatest dad mug. So Metatron's like, where are we? And he's like, this looks just like one of the big man's constructs. This is not just any bar. He should know because he and God were besties. Duh. And Chuck's kind of like, well, I don't know about besties, but Metatron just continues monologuing how this must be his punishment. He's going to be in limbo in a crap bar with a hack writer, which is not very nice of him.
Yeah, he definitely. Yeah, and he definitely insults Chuck a lot and insults all the supernatural books. And Chuck knows that Metatron burned that one.
Mm-hmm. And this kind of catches Metatron's attention. He's like, how would you know that? And he's like, oh, well, because I forget that, I can only be seen when I want to be seen. Here, check out these cool sunglasses, Metatron, and gives him sunglasses. And he points his finger like he's pushing a button. We got a bright light and angelic music. And Metatron realizes who Chuck really is.
That Chuck is God. Chuck is God. And I think we'll save the discussion about Chuck being God for the end of the episode, just as far as it relates to fandom and things. Because, when I watched this in real time, and it was I had the actual experience of it, and then Diana has the 2025 experience of kind of knowing, which does make things different. But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how Chuck summoned Metatron there. And so a couple of episodes ago, we talked about summoning Lucifer. So we're going to talk about summoning an angel. So it's time for some lore. So this comes from the Book of Abramelin, yet another famous grimoire. Fun facts, the most well-known translation by Samuel Mathers in the late 1800s was used by Aleister Crowley and a bunch of other people as the basis of their magic, but the Mathers translation has been shown to be wildly inaccurate. And we are going to be hearing the George Dane and Steve Guth translation from 1995. Now, to get to do the ritual to meet your guardian angel, you have to prepare for 18 months. And you will be learning. It is a very long time. And you're going to be learning for this sacred magic. So the first half of the book talks about Kabbalistic magic, and this is different from that. This is sacred. And the book has certain people that should not be doing this, right? So there's a list of people who should not attempt to do this for 18 months. So you should not do this for entertainment, to show off, for self-esteem, for curiosity, and even less for excitement, for immoral reasons, or to do damage to others. There is also warning that the would-be magician consider the practical elements. You should really be a hermit to do this. Do you have a job? Will it let you take you on this quest? Because you're going to be doing this for 18 months. You should also you need to refrain from business dealings and avoid people and situations that could cause anger. Everyone should consider their life's position before they start this work. So they acknowledge that some people have to work, which is good, right? That some people just can't be a hermit for 18 months. So there are some suggestions for things that you could do that won't hinder this, right? So all medicines that can improve the life and health of your neighbor, and all arts that stem from this have preference and freedom because they are indispensable. So you can be a nurse or a doctor or a midwife. No, probably not a midwife, but you could be, some sort of healthcare, right? Second, the whole and the blended Kabbalah, the sister of wisdom, helps rather than hinders. So I guess if you're studying Kabbalah, you could do that. Third, all business done for love and charity for your neighbor. It is good to reduce conflict, war, and hatred, to help depress people. You can do work that is honest and according to the law. Do not leave out the things you must do to further this work. I'm not sure what that one means. But fourth, you can occasionally practice the so-called liberal arts, but take care not to misuse such arts, particularly astrology. Especially flee and avoid all arts that are even close to foreign magic and sorcery, even if they appear justified or holy, because God and this should not be mixed together. God wants to be God alone and have all the honor that is due to him and to no other forever. So I guess I should also acknowledge that this magic, if you couldn't notice, it comes from the Abrahamic religions by talking about the Kabbalah. So from Judaism, Islam, the Middle Eastern, this is the type of magic world that we're at. So there are within the book they talk about things for both Christians and for Jewish Sabbaths. So just acknowledging that this is that realm of magichood that we're coming from. This book was first around, it's supposedly in the Middle Ages, and the attribution goes back probably to a very learned Kabbalistic rabbi. So, but they don't know exactly who coined the first book of this. Right. So, okay. So as I said, basically you got to be a do-gooder for 18 months. So don't do anything that is going to hinder this, right? You also got to be careful about the people around you. So you got to make sure that your servants, if you've got them, your children and your wife, that they're all there to support you. And also don't forget to consider your health. If you are weak and prone to illness, impatience may undermine your ability to complete this. If that's the case, then it's better wait than continue. Additional qualifications include: one should live a religious life, be educated in good manners, and be neither loose, careless, or arrogant. One should love solitude and not surrender himself to the enemy's stinginess and usury. It is good if the participant is born from good, honest parents, but not necessary for the study of sacred magic. But apparently no quote-unquote illegitimate person is allowed to study the secret Kabbalah.
It's not their fault.
But that's apparently according to Abramelin. So one's age should not be over 50 or below 25. So you've got a pretty limited, I'm running out of time here to do this. One should also be free of inherited diseases, leprosy, or epilepsy. One should have a healthy body without a disfiguring injury, and it does not matter whether one is married. I also want to note that those two things were put in the same sentence, and I'm not sure why. Okay. Lastly,
that's a weird pairing.
Yes, it's a weird pairing. So in regard to women, virgins are the fittest. Others should avoid the work because of their impurity. Generally, my advice for many reasons is women should stay away from the work.
Okay.
So for many reasons, I should not be doing this. This book also warns that most other magic books are frauds, and you should be careful. All right. So for the first 6 months, so they're going to break it into 3 stages and basically into 3 6 months periods. And your first 6 months, you want to start this ritual the first morning after Passover. And you're going to clean your body and you're going to put on new clothes. And you should have 2 robes now. One, a long snow white shirt or coat made from pure wool or linen that has not been washed. The second, from your white, yellow, or rose-colored silk. It should not go past the knee and should have short sleeves, but there's no rule about these clothes, just the simpler the better. Fasten the robe about you with a neat tie in the same color as the robe. I don't know why it has to be the same color, but it does specifically say that. Also, on your head, you should have a hairband of golden colored silk. Fasten onto it the highest names of Adonai, which is a word for God, cut from thin metal, similar to the headband of Aaron. At a minimum, the letters can be written on the band with golden letters. So we do have some crafting opportunities here. So you can either learn to do some metal fastening, which is always fun, or you could just use a cricket maybe. Okay. Then about a half an hour before sunrise, you go into your prayer room. You open the window that faces east and you fall to your knees in front of the altar. You face the window and you pray sincerely in the name of God. And they give you different suggestions, but you should make up your own prayer based on what your spirit is telling you. Then you close the window, shut the door, and you don't return until after sunset. And then you come back after sunset and you repeat your morning prayer. And you do that for 6 months. So far, we're not sounding so bad, right? So that's a prayer in the morning, prayer in the evening. All right. But your prayer room. Okay. So we're going to get to what the prayer room should be in a minute, but some things you should just know for the room. The bedding and the bed linen should be changed. The room should be smoked, which I believe means to have incense thrown around in it, but I do like the word besmoke. No child or animal should live in it, so no cats or dogs. So again, many reasons I shouldn't be doing this, but generally the room should be clean. Yeah. Then it says that generally all beds should be clean and tidy. And I'm beginning to think that these grimoires were just really written by women that were trying to get their husbands to do their laundry and to make their bed. So your bedroom and your living room should be near the prayer room. No one should sleep in your bed except your wife, which I think probably for most marriages is a good idea. But however, when she has her monthly period, she should not sleep in the bed or enter the prayer room. Mm-hmm. They basically say, and then there's a thing about sex and abstinence and says that, especially if you do this the first year of your marriage, if you can't, then that's okay. You can have sex, but you should only have it to conceive children and only in your bed and with the fear of God. You should flee from all sexual indecency and promiscuity because this is repugnant to God.
That doesn't sound sexy.
It does not. The fear of God. I don't like the fear of God most of the time.
No, that is not
down. God, no,
that's upsetting.
So it also is best to avoid. Also best to avoid all female discussions and companionship. So just avoid women altogether. If you should have children, send them away before you start. Do not let them live in the house. The exceptions are the firstborn and the breastfeeding baby. So the oldest and a baby who's breastfeeding can stay. Okay. Your prayer room.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yep. It is best if your prayer room is in the wilderness. This is going to sound weird because I'm not sure 18 months in the wilderness. You're supposed to be a hermit. All right. So in the woods, you erect an altar and you cover it with a roof of branches and leaves to protect it from rain. I don't think that works. Around the altar should be an area 7 feet wide planted with beautiful and fragrant flowers. The location should be divided into 2. First, the altar with its temple and the living room, and second, the entrance area. So you are sleeping in the woods next to your prayer room, in the woods house that you made with your branches. If you are in a house, the prayer room should have at least 2 windows, one facing the rising sun, the other facing the setting sun, next to a door or an opening through which the demons can be seen, demons who cannot and should not appear in the prayer room.
This is the first mention of demons being
Oh,
in the
I'm
room,
sorry.
so I'm a little concerned. Surprise! What?
So, okay. So I told you, like, so this idea is that you're going to talk to your guardian angel, but
for sure,
your guardian angel also tells you how to control demons who do things for you.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Okay, so, but you've got the whole purpose of this 18 months, though, is you're really getting close to God, right? You're becoming a holier and holier person, right? So you're either sleeping in the woods or you have a prayer room, right? And the prayer room should be square without additional corners, swept clean and have a clean wooden floor. Clearly, the room should look like a room for praise and prayer, not like a dog's house or a pigsty.
Once again, clean.
Exactly. So the place for the spirit should be open or have many windows. Cover the floor with an even layer of clean sand 2 or 3 fingers deep. No.
Sounds like such a mess.
Exactly. Why are you bringing in 2 to 3 fingers?
Oh, that's a lot of sand.
That's a lot of fingers.
Of sand.
No, thank you, sir.
That's how you end up with sand in your pants.
It doesn't sound like a good idea. Okay, so the altar should stand in the middle of the space and the sides should face the 4 corners of the world. The altar's height and size can be whatever you want. It is best if it is proportionate to your person, which means that you and I would have very different altars.
Different altars.
The short person's the shorty altar, and then the big. I get a little stool up to mine. It's best if it should be made of uncut stones, or it can be made of elder or pine wood. Then you've got to get a lamp on it, blah, 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 blah. You should place an attractive metal incense burner made from bronze or silver if you can afford it. If it should remain in the place until the work is completed. So you've got to be able to afford more than 1 incense burner. Okay. Daily, you should set aside 2 hours, 1 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, in which you study and read Holy Scripture, the Talmud, and related books. In time and from day to day, you will become more pious, learn to pray better, and to recognize God more readily. So now we're adding, in addition to the prayer, now we're adding 3 hours of study to your day. Okay, and that's the first 6 months. Right. We forgot to say that. So you're doing that too. For eating, drinking, and sleeping, you want to avoid farmers' feasts and big elaborate meals. Now, someone tell me what a farmer's feast is and where I can have one.
I'm interested too. How do we get invited?
Yes. So, and then you should eat what God provides you alone in your room it didn't say that, but I'm assuming over your sand, or with your wife, eat with love and pleasure. So I'm not sure what one is or the other. So either you get to eat by yourself or you get to have fun and eat with your wife. Pick one.
Eat sandy food by yourself, or you actually get to enjoy your meal with your wife, but not have sexy time.
No sexy time. Unless you're fearing God.
Unless it's scary.
It's scary, sexy time. Right. Take care not to sleep during the day, but you can rest after the morning prayer for a short while. It is better to do good works than to be lazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
No naps. Yep. Your hand should give alms to everyone, and you should do good works as far as God's blessing allows, but don't talk about it, which I think is general good advice. Be charitable, but nobody wants to hear that you were charitable.
Right.
If you get sick during the half of If you get sick during the half year to the extent that you do not have the strength to take yourself into the prayer room, do not let this be a reason to stop the work. Hold to the rules as far as possible, pray in bed, and ask God for help so that you can continue and complete your duty. If the sickness does not improve for the remainder of the half year, or if the sickness occurs in the second or third 6-month period, consider this as a sign for that it's God's will that you do not learn the sacred wisdom for the time being. Humble yourself and do not try to continue.
That's a very long time to be so sick that you can't make your way to the prayer room.
But you got to keep going unless it's the second half. And then God says no.
Yeah. Then God's saying this, you ain't cut out for this.
Exactly.
Yikes.
Kind of like a Sam situation. All right. So second half of the year. So now we're in the second 6 months. So before you go to the prayer room for morning, evening prayer, you need to wash your hands and face with clean water. They didn't say to do that the first 6 months, but I kind of hope you were doing that. Then
it's a good recommendation in general to wash your face periodically with clean water.
I think so, especially not with dirty water. You pray with more intensity and devotion, and the more time you spend with the scripture, the more you're going to be like getting into this, right? Then you can sleep with your wife. That's not a problem. You need to wash yourself before the Sabbath. Your wife should do the same. Live, as I said before, lengthen the time for study and prayer as much as possible. Fast when you're supposed to fast. So the second half of the year, you're just increasing it, right? Like you're just training, you're getting a little more, getting more into it, right? All right. Now we're going to go into our third half. So this is, I don't know why they call it a third half, but that's basically this after the 12th month. So we're in the second
half year. I don't know.
Yeah. And you're supposed to start this on the day after Passover. And so now morning, noon, and night, you wash your hands, your face, and your feet before you go to the prayer room. So now we're going to have 3 times in the prayer room, washing all the things. You're going to praise God, you're going to make a confession, then you're going to pray some more. Then after the Feast of Passover, at the start of the next day, you've got to do all the things that we said before, but also now you take off your shoes when you go to the prayer room. And you shut the door after you enter, and you go and you do some stuff, but now you are only going into the room barefoot, right? And you're going to go in, you're going to do some more ceremonial things. You're going to pray. You're going to rub some oil on your head. And then you're going to touch some things around your altar with the oil. You're going to touch your robes. You're going to touch your tie. You're going to touch the headband. You're just rubbing this oil everywhere. Then you're going to go to the windows and the doors.
Sandy oil, and the oil sandy.
You're going to go to and you're going to touch the windows and the doors and the sills with the oil on your finger. And then you're going to go to the altar, and then you're going to write some words on the altar with the holy oil on your finger, because you're just like spreading that oil everywhere and it's never coming out.
Everywhere.
If you're in the wilderness, you touch the 4 corner posts that hold up the roof of the prayer house, because you also had some posts in there. And so, but now everything is complete and you consecrated. And so now we're going to keep going, and you're going to do this every day before lunch. So every day for the next half year, you're going to pray 3 times a day in front of the altar, doing this all the time. And you should do as you did before. But they say the exception remains work of charity. So I think you stopped doing charitable work, because you were supposed to be charitable in the first part.
Well, I think you don't have time. You're too busy. You're covered in oil. You're spreading oil everywhere. You're covered in the sand now too. But you also have to wash yourself all the time. I mean, do you really have time for that?
Well, that's why you're washing yourself. It's because you're covered in oil.
And sand.
Yeah. And also, you are being a vegetarian at this time. So you need to copy Daniel the prophet and live on vegetables and water. And again, they bring up wash your whole, maybe this is another additional washing. It says to wash your whole body 3 times a week on the 2nd, 4th, and 6th day. So it's more, be cleaner. Then your clothing changes before, but you're adding to it a long snow white dress made for wool or linen for use in the prayer room. So you get a new dress. That's cool. Yeah. And in the third half year, you spend all your time calling on godly and spiritual things. And so then you go through and you keep learning and learning and learning. And then finally, like, you're going to be ready. And the less you learn, the smarter and smarter you will become.
Oh.
You gotta love some ancient wisdom. So it is sufficient though that you do not fall asleep when praying. It is necessary that you do not fail in the work through sloppiness or laziness. All right. So if you do all this stuff, a guardian angel will appear. They will tell you lots of things, including how to take command over the unredeemed spirits, aka those demons, and have them do your bidding. Basically, once you complete all this, you can have the angels tell you how to do stuff, or the demons can. And the demons typically are quicker and faster. Just saying. All right. So I will quickly tell you before we get back to our show, some of the things that you should be able to do now. And I'm going to go really fast. Okay. You can discover all past and future things that are not directly against God's wills. You can have reports about all sorts of doubtful things. You can make every spirit appear in the shape of a dragon, in human shape, in animal shape, in bird shape. You can create visions in mirrors, glass, and crystals, in caves, vaults, crypts, and grottos underground, in the air, in jewels and rings, in beeswax and through writing, through fire, in the moon, in water, or in the hand. You can obtain servant spirits, either free or sealed, and you can learn how to send them away. You can get a servant in the form of a giant, as a page, as a soldier, in the form of a flower, in the appearance of an old man, as a rider, as an eagle, as a snake, as a lion, as a dog, or as a monkey. There are also
a lot of options.
Yeah, you can learn how to do things for working minds, like not make minds collapse, which is important for today. You can learn to have the spirits make alchemy work, to make and prevent storms. You can make people into animals and animals into people. You can make people into donkeys, people into deer, animals into people, people into wild pigs, people into dogs, people into wolves, animals into stone, boys becoming wolves. You can prevent and remove all other magics. This is my favorite. You can obtain lost books, hidden manuscripts, and such. I would use that all the time. You can research and hear from people the hidden plans and plots of a person, including their sexual activity. You can make a dead person walk for 7 years. And during that 7 years,
that's a very long time.
But only 7 years. It's long, but not, and that person, you can say that he does and talk like a living person from sunrise to noon, from noon to sunset, from sunset to midnight, or from midnight to sunrise. There is no one that you can do it the whole time, but only certain.
Pick one.
Pick one. You can learn to be invisible. You can have, this is also my favorite. The spirits bring all sorts of things to eat and drink. They can bring bread, meat, wine, fish, or cheese. So room service. And you can recover treasures.
So wait, hold on. They can bring you books. They can bring you books and food. Yes. What else do you want, Liz?
I'm pretty good. Well, yeah, we get treasures. And then you can learn to travel in the air so you can fly. You can learn how to heal sickness, including leprosy, pimples, and ulcers, plague, stroke, fever, uterine diseases, dizziness, intestinal colic, and wounds. You can achieve all sorts of friendships. You can take on all types of animosity. Okay, you can take on different appearances. So you can turn into an old man, into an old woman, into a youngster, into a girl, into a boy, or into a man with a beard. That's the only kind of man you can turn into, though, is a man with a beard.
So it's perfect for dudes that can't grow a beard and really want to.
Exactly. You can make sicknesses in people, children, and farm animals, which seems mean. You can collapse walls and houses, and you can have the spirits perform all kinds of music, singing, and juggling.
So you have personal entertainment, too? This is amazing.
TV. So this is like the greatest of, but you have to do some things to get there. So I hope you enjoyed that. And since it's still spooky season, we once again have some more lore for you. So if you come and tune into our bonus more lore, I will tell you about some of the Kabbalistic magic and the uses for that, like how to guard against the plague. So you don't even have to cure it.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. All right. So back in supernatural land, God Chuck has summoned angels, and he has summoned Metatron, and Metatron now knows that Chuck is God.
Yeah. And Metatron is super excited that God is back, and he's trying to recant some of his shit talking about the supernatural and about the bar, and he's kneeling. And Chuck's like, no, don't do that. Don't call me God, call me Chuck. And Metatron's like, okay, well, I need a drink.
Yeah, and we do get a really good clip out of that one where we get Metatron saying Supernatural is due for a reboot that I will totally gif out for you guys.
So we cut to the bunker where Dean is ironing a shirt, and he is using beer to help him do that. Ew. But anyway, Sam enters, and Dean's asking about intel on Amara, or Cass for that matter. But he's like, no, but I've got this. It's a long shot, but there's this case in Hope Springs, Idaho, about a guy killing himself after killing a coworker. Possibly he was soulless, so we should probably go investigate it. And Dean's like, okay, fine, let's check it out. Here's your shirt. And Sam is distraught that his shirt has been ironed with beer, which I think is reasonable. I'd be distraught too. So,
yeah.
Back at the bar, back at God's bar, I guess. I don't know. We can, whatever we want to call it.
Technically, the bar.
Metatron's doing a shot.
Yeah, the bar is called Bee Gees.
Yes.
Like the half of CB, you know.
Yes. So he's doing a shot, and it's like, so what have you been up to? And Chuck's like, oh, I've traveled, I've blogged with pictures of cats, and I done Snapchat, and I'm writing this new series of books. Yeah. So a whole lot, I'm like, not much, I guess. And so Matt is like, Supernatural Revolution, the titles are not your thing. Ha ha ha. What's up with this Chuck suit though? This human suit that you're wearing. And he's like, oh, I just really wanted a front row seat to what was happening, and acting is fun. Huh. And we find out that the reason nobody realized that Chuck was God is because the amulet that Sam had one of that's supposed to tell you that God's nearby, Chuck just turned it off.
Because God can do that.
And yeah, why not? And Metatron's like, I've been trash. Why did you bring me here to destroy me? Like, why I've been terrible. Why am I here? Kind of a thing. And Chuck's like, well, humanity's, do you know what humanity's greatest invention is? It's music. And it's like going on this whole thing, and nacho cheese. Yeah, don't forget about that, of course.
But in my notes, I somehow accidentally wrote magic cheese, and I think that's okay.
I'm okay with that. But he's like, yeah, music is magic, and this place, Bee Gees is, it's talking about how the stage is magic, and he wants to tap into that and finish what he started because he has been writing God an autobiography.
Which technically, isn't that kind of like the Bible?
I mean, it's not an autobiography.
I guess that was yeah, the Bible was a biography. So this is okay, yeah.
That would be the difference, I guess, since it's not from the perspective. But yeah, every writer needs an editor. And Metatron's, wow, will I be an angel again? He's like, no, never. So Metatron's like, it's probably a good call. And then he says, let's do this.
He does. So we also get that clip too.
I like it. I was excited. I was like, oh, okay. So we cut back to, now we're in Idaho with Sam and Dean. And they're at that, they're dressed up as FBI at the sheriff's office. And one of the deputies is gonna show Sam the medical examiner files while Dean talks to the sheriff, trying to figure out why, like what's happening here. And a witness just basically said that this murder was like super out of character, and this guy who is not this way typically started talking about how life being meaningless and being unloved. In the meantime, the deputy is showing Sam a picture of this corpse who definitely has black veiny marks on him, which we obviously know is from the darkness. So, yeah. And so Sam's like, yeah, I've seen this before. Have you smelled sulfur? Has there been power outages? Fog? And she's like, no, none of that. So we cut back to Bee Gees. And they are in the booth, and Metatron is reading and editing the manuscript at this point. And while Chuck just kind of hovers because he wants immediate feedback. And that is not helpful. No one wants that. If you are editing something for someone, do not hover over them. It's very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. So Meta's like, oh, it's good. It's real good. And Chuck's like, you hate it. Makes a reference to the Bugs episode, which is brilliant. And basically, Metatron calls out, what's problem is that what makes a good story great is the details. And there's no details here. No details. And Metatron starts prodding at Chuck about his sister at this point. Like, why? She was there in the beginning. It wasn't just you. Why isn't she in there? And, you've got to know that she's out and about now. And Chuck gets kind of mad. He's like, that's not her story. This is mine. So he shuts down what Metatron's saying.
Yeah, so it seems like half of the world's problems is because God is a bratty little brother.
I mean, kind of. At least right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we get a quick pop back over to our Idaho scene where our deputy has gone home from work and her husband's outside, and it's so cute. But as she's standing there, she sees this fog rolling in. And after Sam had mentioned that to her, she's like, I'm going to call this in. Hubby, go inside while I call this in. And she calls it in, but gets consumed by the fog and gets covered in black veins. So now she's infected or whatever it is.
And super thick veins, too.
Yeah, it's a little different than before, right?
Yeah, well, I feel like that's her neck veins were just like guy on steroid veiny.
Very vascular. Know what they say? I don't know. Sounds like what they say. So back at Bee Gees, so we cut back and forth a lot in this episode. Metatron's drinking more, and he's like, no, the story's got good bones. It's fine. And, basically, he's calling out that the chapter that he wrote about his Chuck time is very, he's not covering enough material. Chuck is not covering enough about who he actually is. And, he's like, yeah, you seem like a grounded, likable person, but you're not grounded and you're not a person. And so Chuck latches on too, but I'm likable. It's a fun exchange. So, but Metatron's like, no, we need juicy stuff. Talk about the archangels. There's only 2 paragraphs. Don't they get any extra words? What about Lucifer? Didn't he help you trap Amara? Because he keeps bringing her back up. You gave him the mark and he rebelled. And then, if Amara's off limits, at least talk about Lucifer, because, you've got to have a villain in the story. And,
which is true. I mean, it makes books more interesting if there is a antagonist versus a protagonist, right? It's one of the first things you learn in writing.
Exactly. And it's interesting, though, because Chuck's immediate response is that Lucifer wasn't the villain. Ooh.
Right.
So, but this is where Metatron I might know it just says Meta because I shorten it. So I got to remind myself to actually say Metatron.
I write Meta throughout the whole thing.
Yeah. I'm just like, I have to remember to say the name. Metatron is like, real talk. There's 2 types of memoirs, the truth and the fairy tales. Do you want to write Life by Keith Richards, or Wouldn't It Be Nice by Brian Wilson? So.
And now I have Wouldn't It Be Nice again stuck in my head.
I know. It's not. No offense, Brian Wilson. I don't want that fucking song in my head.
Yeah, and no offense, Brian Wilson, I would also choose Keith Richards all the way.
Yes. So Metatron's like, yeah, there's no revelations in your book. That's weird. There's no new info. There's no soul bearing. And Chuck's like, oh, I don't have a soul. And Metatron's like, yeah, but you fucking invented them? Yeah. Hello. So, anyway.
I also think that's an interesting, too, to think that God doesn't have a soul.
Yeah, right? It was an interesting perspective. I agree. I thought that was like a really, like, I guess because he's such a different entity, like, does he not need one? Or should he have one? I don't know.
But it also means, Amara doesn't have a soul. I mean, I guess we know that.
She just eats them.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. And so Metatron's just like, look, it's, God became Chuck. And that's weird because you're kind of this pile of self-doubt. And that's not really the God I knew, who was badass. And he could be a dick, but he had stories and he has a lot to answer for. So where the fuck are you? Look at yourself in the mirror and write your shit. And Chuck gets kind of mad. But then he also is like, you're right. I'm going to pick Keith Richards.
Yeah. And so we get a brief cut back to Idaho, and the deputy has apparently killed her husband and left. And the sheriff tells Sam and Dean, who are not in suits, just in we woke up clothes, and they perk up when they hear about the fog.
Mm-hmm. And the sheriff thinks that's super weird, but is also like, by the way, we can totally track her vehicle. Which is good. So we cut back to the bar, and Chuck's typing. Metatron's like taking pages off the printer as they come out. We've got Gimme Shelter by the Rolling Stones playing. So now we've gone from Brian Wilson to Rolling Stones. It's kind of well done. Well, good job on music, expensive. Guys. Yes, it did. And Metatron's really happy with this version because these chapters are like, he's got lists a couple of the chapter names. Why I never answer prayers, and you should be glad I don't. And the truth about divine intervention and why I avoid it at all costs. Okay. Okay. But yeah, so he's calling out that this is golden, but it's also a little bitter and angry. So at least it's real though. So we'll take this. We will take this. And Metatron decides to ask a profound question of Chuck and asks, why did you create life? And Chuck says he was lonely. And Metatron, once again, circling back, is like, but you had a sister. And he's like, and I thought this line by Chuck was super interesting. He says, I am being, she is nothingness. It's kind of a different take on the light and the dark that we've had repeatedly. So that was interesting. But anyways, so he's doesn't, want to talk. He's not really into talking about his sister, but he kind of does a little bit. He said, she wanted to bring, she wanted to destroy the world. She would destroy the world while he created the world. My notes are terrible right there. I'm sorry. I got very excited and I was writing it down. It's like, that's so naive. She would destroy what I created. That's what it came down to every time. So Metron's like, so you locked her away and got to do unfettered creation. And Chuck's like, yeah, I tried. However, and snaps his fingers, and we go to a new backdrop. And it's very pretty. So Chuck's like, yeah, this is as close as I got to something as good or as better than me or my sister. Nature did this. And we've got just like really pretty water and mountains, and you can hear birds, and it's just kind of lovely, except for being a little overcast, which would not be my ideal personally, but it's pretty.
It's Canada.
Yeah, and basically his take at this point, he's like, sometimes you just have to wipe the slate clean like nature does. And Metatron's like, calls out like natural selection, like a flood. Yeah. He's like the flood, but you build a boat so you can help start over a little bit. And if Amara, but if Amara's the one that wipes the slate clean, it doesn't just wipe the slate, she destroys the slate too. And all your great work will be gone. And Chuck's like, well, so we should enjoy it while we, before then. So it sounds like Chuck has given up. He is conceding to Amara. He thinks it's fucked. This is where we really he's been kind of avoidant about this, but this is the first time we're really hearing that God's like, yeah, nah, I'm gonna let her do it.
Yeah, because he's annoyed and pissed. And yeah, I mean, I've seen humanity and I can sometimes get that. But so back in Idaho, at the sheriff's, the fog is rolling in and Dean starts the "you're fucked" protocols.
Yeah. And everybody looks at him like he's insane because he's telling people go inside and seal up their doors and windows and vents, which is fair. People would think you were insane if you said that. And the sheriff's like, what the fuck? And Dean's like, there's something in the fog that's infecting people. And sheriff's like, shouldn't we call the fucking CDC then? And Dean's like, yes, if we had time, but not right now. So go fucking get people indoors. And Sam's like, oh, cool story. I just found the deputy and she's on her way here. That's convenient. So they tell everybody to go inside, and outside, Sam and Dean confront our deputy, where she gets out of her car with her gun and she has a lot of very thick black veins.
Yeah, again, super thick.
She would not look good with bad tribal tattoos. That's the lesson here. But she gives a very sad monologue basically now, where she tried to kill herself, but she wouldn't let me because she has a message for Dean. She's not here, so we know Amara is not here, but Amara has a message for Dean and will not let this poor woman commit suicide after she had to watch herself kill her husband. It's very sad. It's very distressing. Mm-hmm. I didn't like this at all. So Sam's trying to talk her off the ledge, this is an infection, and the deputy's like, no, it's not. Amara says this is the mirror and the truth, and the light was just a lie. And she lifts her gun and gets shot because the sheriff is behind them, and because she lifted her gun to shoot at Sam and Dean, he takes her down. And as she's dying, she's telling Dean that it'll all be over soon. It's all going away, but not you, Dean.
Yep. Yep. And the fog comes rolling in.
It does. So back in the Canadian wilderness, I guess, Chuck is calling nature divine and human nature toxic. And Metatron's like, they do like blowing stuff up. So, and Chuck's like, yeah, and they do it in my name, and they ask for my forgiveness. They never take responsibility, and I'm taking responsibility by leaving. The training wheels are off. And Metatron's like, yeah, but what about Amara? And once again, and Chuck's like, I did my part. I locked her away. Who the fuck let her out? And I love Sam and Dean, but the world would still be spinning if Dean was still a demon. But Sam just couldn't do it. Couldn't leave that. It's interesting. I was kind of blown away by that. Anyway, so Metatron's like, yeah, but you've helped them before. And he's like, fuck yeah, I have. And I've rebuilt Castiel a bunch of times. So Metatron's, but, you're going to let Amara win over that? And he's like, it's her time to shine. Okay, we've given up. And then Metatron's like, why are you writing this book then? Why are you writing this memoir? And they go back to the bar. And Chuck's writing for himself is what we learned. Because Metatron's advice to him in writing was write for, audience of one, whatever. When you're thinking about just just put all out there. And we find out that this was that Metatron pieces together that God started writing the memoir when he knew Amara was back and had been hiding at the bar this whole time that he constructed as his quote unquote safe place. And it's safe from Amara, but that he was really just writing this for himself. It's completely like a self-serving exercise to write this autobiography. So Metatron gets a little, I don't know which word, insightful. He's like, I was a terrible, crappy god. I was trying to do what, your greatest hits, but I was never a coward. And this pisses Chuck off. He does not like being called a coward. So he flings Metatron out the front door, and Metatron comes back in laughing. He's like, this is the god that I loved. The angels were scared of you, but I wasn't. And Chuck's like, by the way, you weren't special. You just happened to be standing closest when I needed someone to help me. So whatever. I've been called a lot of things. I'm just done. I'm not hiding. I'm just done watching my experiments fail over it. And so he's like, want to watch? And he turns the TVs on, and we watch the fog and clouds rolling into cities and the National Guard being called in fucking chaos. Chaos on the streets. And that's our segue back to Idaho, where they're still trying to get people out of the street. And there's a very weird scene where Sam is unbuckling a baby out of the backseat of a car while the parents watch. And I just feel like they would be faster at this than Sam Winchester. I'm like so confused here by this whole thing.
There was that one time he had that shifter baby and he learned how to put a kid in a car seat.
I guess it's just so weird. They're all just like, thanks, man. What? Thanks for getting my baby out of the car. Just standing there while this fog, it's just very bizarre, very inefficient. Anyway, so they all run into the sheriff's office, and their radio's not working. There's no cell service. And, then they're trying to tape all the doors, windows, and vents shut with duct tape and fix the radio. But the vent starts leaking because of course it does. And they hear an angry mob outside because of course they do. And so they have to lock and barricade, but too late. The vent has been breached and Sam is getting the black veins again. So
apparently you don't get an immunity to them.
Nope, apparently not. So the sheriff's leading people further back into the station while Dean stays with Sam. So back at BG's, we've got Chuck typing and Meta's sad. Meta's bummed out. Meta is deflated and defeated about this whole thing. But Chuck's in a fine mood. He's talking what a good editor Metatron is. And Metatron calls out, you're a terrible writer and a worse god. So it's kind of funny. But anyway, so they're Metatron's got a lot more to share, and he's talking about how you picked me and everybody's wanted your attention, but now you left all of us, because you have to remember that angels prayed to you too. And so you not only abandoned Earth, but you also abandoned the angels. So why did you abandon us? And then, and Chuck says, you all disappointed me. This is mean. It's not nice.
No, and it makes all human have daddy issues if you are this kind of god.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Metatron's like, look, humanity is your greatest creation. It's it's better, even when they weak, cheat, steal, and disappoint, but they give, they create, they sing, they dance, they love, and they never give up. But you do. Oh, it's very sweet. And anyways, Chuck just keeps typing. I thought that was really profound. I liked it. Anyways, so back at the sheriff's office. Windows are breaking. Sam and Dean are still trying to seal things, but Sam's getting real fucked up and getting real dark and hopeless in this whole fiasco. And Dean's trying to keep him from turning that way, but he's refusing to leave him. And this is about the time Dean realizes that he's immune from whatever this fog shit is. So he does not get the black veiny stuff. And he breaks a little bit and yells out, "Stop this."
Well, and he says, "You hear me, you dick." So is he calling to Amara or is he calling to God?
I don't know. I think it's implied that he's calling to God, but why would he have the inclination to do that when he hasn't before and God hasn't answered anything in a long time? I don't know. I don't have an answer. But when he yells this, the banging and the yelling and all the crazy chaos noises stop. So back at BG's, Chuck prints a page, looks very proud of himself, which we don't trust at all now. And he admits that he lied earlier. He didn't actually learn to play guitar or learn to speak French for that matter. He just gave himself the ability. And that honesty is very freeing. Also, that's kind of, I was like, I wanted to be annoyed. And I'm like, man, that's kind of cool. I wish I could do that. Just like, boop, ability. Boop. So
if you make some demons,
I need to work on that. But man, I don't have 18 months. I don't have that in me.
18 months of sand ass.
Greasy sand ass. So Metatron does not seem particularly interested in reading these last few pages, but Chuck grabs the guitar and goes and sits on a little stage and starts playing and singing.
Yeah, and he's singing the cover of Fare Thee Well, and it gets me every goddamn time. I don't know why. So the amulet in Sam's pocket.
It's emotional. It's good.
This is very emotional.
It's very good.
Yeah, because the amulet is in Sam's pocket and it starts glowing, right? And so Sam is all of a sudden healed and everyone comes out and then the boys exit the station. And then we get kind of this miraculous thing. And Deputy Harris and her husband are alive and Dean is just following the amulet around and there is God Chuck helping someone stand up.
Mm-hmm. And Chuck looks at Dean. They all stare at the amulet and Chuck says, "We should probably talk."
And that's how it ends.
And is that the wind at your house?
That is.
It was very appropriate timing.
It's very appropriate timing. I'm very nervous as there was a tornado that touched down a mile from my house last weekend.
Yes, I understand. It was, whoa, what an end. What an end to this episode. Whew.
What an end. And again, we'll circle back to it after we talk about some casty people. But yeah, that was the leading of Dean through, like Dean walking and Sam walking through there, like with just kind of like the hope that inspires, mm-hmm. Like, oh my God, are we fine? Is literally, oh my God, is this happening? Literally. And then having that being fulfilled is like so satisfying.
Yes, it is. It is. And we don't get that. Like, I wouldn't say a lot of episodes of the show get that level of satisfaction.
Television in general, right?
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
is like, it's such a profound thing, and it's answering. There's so many there's so many questions of the show it's answering, but it's also reaching into that deeper level of there is a God who is here to care for you, right? And there's someone who's here to fix it. There's so much shit but then you have this juxtaposition with Fare Thee Well, which is not a happy song when it comes to like, it's not talking about, it's a goodbye song. So we have this, this sad, like, what the fuck is going to happen here, right? And so is
for real.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about some of our actor folky.
Were they on that show that time with that guy? La 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 la.
lot of things, has a long career, but been seen in episodes of All My Children, Star Trek Next Generation, as well as Voyager and Enterprise. Jag, he was a regular character on Dark Skies. He was in Charmed, CSI, Dollhouse, Fringe, Almost Human, and a few episodes of NCIS. He was the voice of Raphael in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 in 1993. He was a pilot in Operation Dumbo Drop, a waiter in The Birdcage, a technician in Independence Day, Buster in Apollo 11, Stewart in 7 Pounds, and Thin Man in Inception. So pretty iconic films. Then our Deputy Harris was played by Sonia Bennett. She's actually a producer of a bunch of episodes of Ghost Wars. And then she's been in episodes of True Calling, Painkiller Jane, Hellcats, and Charmed. Mandy in the movie The Fog, which I just thought was hilarious. And ironic. Anyways, Jules in Smokin' Aces 2. And she's also in several episodes, almost a dozen episodes of Ghost Wars as an actress as well. She's also been a writer on Kim's Convenience, Ghost Wars, and Letterkenny.
Ooh.
Art
she's Canadian. I take it.
Yes. Art Harris was her husband. Is played by Jacob Richter. He's been in episodes of Nikita, Legends of Tomorrow, and a couple Hallmark movies. And then there's another deputy who was played by Murray Peters, and they've been in episodes of Wayward Pines, Lucifer, and Maid, and then is a recurring character named Shiloh in the series SE. So here we go.
Cool.
Yep. All right. So yeah, we decided to shelve the conversation earlier before we were recording. But yeah, I think, it was really interesting. You were able to see this in real time, and I cannot fathom how exciting that would be as a viewer and a fan to learn that in real time. And what a freaking that's a flip the table, holy shit moment, I'm sure, as a viewer.
It was, and I knew it. I mean, because it had been something that we'd ever, within the fandom had been debated and tossed around forever. And so, it was just, it was to have that confirmed of I knew he was God,
Yeah. And obviously I knew as just being part of the fandom post the show being out for so long and this being revealed and following, the cons and the socials and all that kind of stuff. So I knew, but I'd been waiting for this reveal and I had no idea when it was going to happen. So I was always kind of oh, is it time? Is it time? Is it time?
Well, and they do kind of tease it too. I feel like it's been teased, it was teased for someone who knew that it was coming, is this it? So, yeah, I'm glad that canon has finally been revealed. I'm you still haven't met all the big characters. There's still a few more that come in later, but
I know I'm really excited about this one for sure.
Yeah, I think Jack is probably a big one you still have to meet. And I'm just saying in terms of people you've seen at conventions, they're just I know this person's coming because I see them talk.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten introduced to a couple that I think that haven't come fully into their characters yet too.
Yeah.
That's happened. But no, I think that this was, man, you talk about freaking shoving a lot of stuff into one episode to really further the story arc of the season. Holy shit. And not just the season, of the series.
Yeah.
A lot.
This is definitely something that was on a board somewhere that got tied up. Some writer board was check, we have been trying to get to from X to Z and we have finally made it over here. And I'm interested to see what Kripke's comments were on this. Maybe we'll look it up and post some things on socials later. But, all right, anything else about God you want to talk about?
Not today.
All right, so on that high revelation note, cheers, jerk.
Cheers, bitch.
Devil's Trap Podcast is a Don't Get It production. Meow.
Devil's Trap Podcast is part of the Ship It Studios Podcast Network. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Devil's Trap Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at Devil's Trap Podcast, Twitter at Devil's Trap Pod, or you can email us at devilstrap@devilstrappodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave reviews, and share with all your friends. We're at all your favorite podcast outlets and at devilstrappodcast.com. I'm Babe. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.